When you scroll through a sea of gaming laptops, it's easy to get sucked into the glossy images and the promise of 240Hz QHD Plus or RTX 5080 power and then wonder why the machine feels underwhelming when you finally pull the plug and fire it up. I've been there spending an hour on the spec sheet, only to end up with a laptop that looks like a beast on paper but leaves you feeling like you've got a kitten in a shark's mouth. That's why today's deep dive is all about helping you avoid that mismatch. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the MSI Vector A18HX isn't just another entry in the crowded 18-inch gaming laptop market. It tries to pack a high-end AMD Ryzen 99955HX, an RTX 5080 GPU, and a 32GB DDR5 memory kit into a chassis that promises a clean, simplistic aesthetic. The real question is whether those headline numbers translate into everyday gaming comfort, content creation fluidity, and overall laptop portability. If you're the type who jumps between intense multiplayer sessions, then dives into video editing or 3D rendering, you need a machine that sustains performance without constantly throttling or draining the battery. On the flip side, if you mainly play indie titles or do light creative work, you might be better off spending less on this high-end bundle. Let's start with the display because it's the first thing you'll notice when you open the lid. The 18-inch panel sports a QHD plus resolution, which means you get 2560x1440 pixels, and MSI claims a 240Hz refresh rate. In practice, the screen looks sharp enough for both gaming and design work. The extra pixel density makes UI elements feel crisp, and the higher refresh rate does smooth out fast-paced shooters noticeably. I tried a couple of AAA titles Call of Duty and Elden Ring, and the motion was buttery, especially when I cranked the settings to ultra. However, the brightness maxes out around 300 nits, which is decent for an indoor setup but can be a problem if you're gaming near a window on a sunny afternoon. The matte coating does fight glare, but you'll still notice some washout in brightly lit rooms. For a gamer who streams in a dimly lit bedroom, it's fine. But if you plan on gaming on the couch with the lights on, you'll probably need an external monitor for the best experience. Now, onto the heart of the machine, the AMD Ryzen 99955HX paired with the RTX 5080. On paper, this combo should dominate current titles and handle creative workloads without breaking a sweat. When I ran a few benchmarks and then switched to a real-world workflow rendering a 10-minute 4K video in DaVinci Resolve, the laptop kept its clock speed stable for the first half, but after about 20 minutes it began to throttle down a few gigahertz. The reason? The cooling design is relatively minimalist, which helps keep the device sleek, but it also means the fans spin louder and the chassis gets warm under sustained load. In a gaming session that lasts an hour, you'll hear the fans kick in and the laptop will feel noticeably hotter on the palm rest. It's not a deal breaker if you're okay with a bit of noise, but if you're sensitive to fan sounds or plan to game in a quiet environment, it's something to weigh. Storage and memory are where the Vector A18 really shines for power users. The 1TB NVMe SSD loads games in seconds and gives you plenty of room for large game libraries. The 32GB of DDR5 RAM provides headroom for multitasking, running a game, having Discord open, and keeping a Photoshop session alive simultaneously didn't cause any hiccups. The downside? The SSD is a single 1TB drive with no easy way to add a second one without opening the case, which isn't a trivial task for most consumers. If you anticipate needing more than a terabyte, say, for a massive library of AAA titles plus heavy video footage, you'll have to invest in an external SSD or do the upgrade yourself, which can be a pain point. Battery life is another practical consideration people often skip over because they assume gaming laptops are plug-in only. The Vector A18 has a 99 mAh battery, which is generous for its class. In realistic usage, mixing a few hours of gaming with everyday tasks like web browsing and streaming, you can expect around 4 to 5 hours before needing a wall outlet. That's on par with other high-performance laptops, but it's still far from the 8+ hours you'd get from a standard Ultrabook. If you travel frequently and need long sessions away from power, You'll probably need a portable charger or accept that you'll be tethered to an outlet during long gaming marathons. Connectivity is where the wireless reimagined tagline tries to make a splash. MSI equipped this laptop with Wi-Fi 7, which promises lower latency and higher throughput. In my home network test, the laptop hit around 1.6 gigabits per second on a Wi-Fi 7 compatible router, and the ping was consistently under 15 milliseconds in online shooters. That's a clear advantage if you have a modern router and want the most reliable wireless experience. It